And the world is worried about the safety and well-being of Ukraine and concerned about how big the spillover from the conflict would turn out to be. The Russian police have arrested more than 1,500 people, but the global community continues its protest against the attack. More in our next report.
From Beirut to Berlin to New York City, protesters came out in droves to express condemnation of Russia's all-out invasion of Ukraine, the biggest attack on a European state since World War II. Stop the war, stop bombing Ukraine, stop Putin, were the messages coming from demonstrators in Beirut on Thursday. One Lebanese Ukrainian said he came out in solidarity with what he called his brothers and sisters in Ukraine.
Today we are next to the Russian embassy. I don't know if we can still call it Russia because it's a dictatorship country. It's the renewal of Nazism in Europe.
In Madrid, a protester outside the Russian embassy held a sign showing Putin with a bloody handprint on his face. Spanish actor Javier Bardem joined the demonstrators.
I'm here to demonstrate my condemnation of the Russian Federation's warlike actions against Ukraine. But above all, to the concern over the wave of refugees this could generate as a consequence of this invasion.
After Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday declared war in a televised address, explosions and gunfire were heard in Kyiv. Missiles rained down on Ukrainian targets, and authorities reported columns of troops pouring across Ukraine's borders. Several hundred pro-Ukrainian protesters also gathered near Downing Street in London, calling on their government to impose more sanctions on Russia.
Stop Putin! Stop the war!
Images showing Putin and deep red blood were also seen in Istanbul, where Ukrainians, some tearful, gathered in dismay. A Ukrainian protester named Maria pleaded with Russian citizens to take a stand against Putin.
Please, Russians, go outside, declare that you are against this war.
Many Russians did just that. According to a protest monitoring group in Russia, police detained more than 1,600 people at anti-war rallies in 53 Russian cities.
And as we speak, Russian troops continue to enter further into Ukraine. A curfew has been declared in Kiev. Thousands in the capital city have been forced to flee their homes and camp at bomb shelters in fear of their lives. With the war raging on at home, Ukrainians from across the world are denouncing Russia's actions. Multiple rallies have been held against Moscow's military attack. Hundreds of people took to the streets of Germany to protest Russian action.
Europa. Leute, wacht auf! Ja, gerade fliegen Drohnen. Germany wake up! Germany wake up! Man muss die Ukraine militärisch...
In Ukraine, the protesters gathered in front of the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, where they waved banners and Ukrainian flags, also called on nations to stand with Ukraine.
This invasion, it shows us that we need support from Europe, from the whole world, and we try to stand by our alone, but we need more people and more help and more support to stand in this war.
Over 100 people gathered outside the Russian embassy in Stockholm. The emotional and agitated crowds held signs that read "Stop Putin's war" and quote "Stop the bloody maniac," while chanting slogans against Russian action.
I'm Ukrainian and my heart is broken because of the situation in my home country.
While in France, some political leaders also joined the protest against the Russian invasion. The leaders included presidential candidates Yannick Jadot and Christian Taubira. The Ukrainian citizens in Paris held placards against Moscow. Some even shouted, "Putin, dictator, get out of our country right now."
Putin, dictateur! Voilà, va-t'en de notre pays! Tout de suite!
Similar protests also took place in Lebanon. Dozens of Ukrainians, along with Ukraine's envoy to Lebanon, gathered outside the Russian embassy in Beirut, condemning the Russian attacks and While the crowds chanted slogans against Moscow, the Ukrainian envoy said that his country's citizens will fight for every meter of their soil.
You know about very serious damages, you know about our losses with civil population, but Ukraine will fight till the end. Ukraine is a very peaceful country, but now we will fight for every meter of Ukrainian territory.
Today we are next to the Russian embassy. I don't know if we can still call it Russia because it's a dictatorship country. It's the renewal of Nazism in Europe. Today we are here to stand with our brothers and sisters in Ukraine to show them solidarity and once again to show the world and to show Russia that we are against the war.
Now, as protests are erupting across the world against Russia's attack on its neighbor Ukraine, Moscow has warned its citizens against taking part in any such rallies. Police has been deployed in Russian capital to quash any such protests, and as per reports, over 700 anti-war protesters have been detained in 40 cities across Russia. Now, in an attempt to suppress the voice of dissent, Russia has now launched a massive crackdown on its own citizens, arresting hundreds from several cities across the country. According to reports, Russian police have detained over 1,700 people at anti-war protests staged in cities across the country. Now, this comes after Russian President Vladimir Putin launched a series of multiple airstrikes on Ukraine. Nearly 1,000 people have been detained in Moscow alone, with another 340 people in the second largest city, St. Petersburg. Protesters were seen carrying banners that read "No to War" as they gathered in major cities to demonstrate against Russian invasion of Ukraine. The move is a deliberate attempt by Russian authorities in silencing any criticism against Putin and his attack on Ukraine. Authorities have also warned Russians of legal repercussions if they take part in these anti-war protests. Russia's invasion on Ukraine comes at a time of unprecedented crackdown on its opposition, with mostly the leaders either detained or forced out of the country. Jailed opposition leader Alexei Navalny, who used to mobilize Russia's largest protest against Putin, is currently serving a 2.5-year sentence in a prison outside Moscow. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.